Welcome to Rams Brawl, episode 2 of our new Rams podcast here in the Brawl Network. This is Derek Ciapala with our co-host, the partners in crime here for Rams linebacker Tommy Polley and running back Arlen Harris. I'm going to go right to you guys right away. Tommy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing okay, doing, I guess, a little better than last week. It's getting closer to hopefully till March, May 1st when we can come out of this quarantine. So I'm feeling a little better.
So you're just getting a little bit of, what's it called? Anticipation. There's like a certain word, that expression people used to say a lot when they've been stuck at home for a long time. So I'm getting antsy. Arlen, I think you're getting antsy too.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting antsy. I'll be honest, I haven't left the neighborhood probably in 5 days. Typically I make an excuse to go to the store, but I've been, abiding by the rules, man, and getting kind of claustrophobic here a little bit. I want to get out and do some things.
So with your state, with the order that's in place right now, is it one of those orders where you are by law, you can't go anywhere, or it's suggested, quote unquote, to not go anywhere?
Well, for us, it's suggested, not to go anywhere. Just, it's really not an order to stay home, but it's not really many places to go but the grocery store or, get some gas or something like that. So, so it's not a by law thing, but it's not really anything else to do.
Arlen?
Yeah, very, very similar. They use the word necessities, getting to go out to the store, but I think right now it's different. You can see it, different counties. I had to shoot over to the high school and pick something up, and it was a lot more crowded than where I'm staying at. And you saw like McDonald's and Chick-fil-A open, but where I live at, a lot of those fast food spots aren't open. So, it just varies probably from where you go.
Been finding reason to get out in the yard? Go out and work outside?
Oh, yeah.
I've been working my son out a little bit. We've been doing some Vertimax stuff and some ladder stuff, things like that, but that's on a couple of days. But other than that, nothing.
So while we're stuck at home, then all we have is the internet or the TV where we're getting news right now. And the Rams threw all kinds of news at us last week. Trades, Todd Gurley pulling shenanigans on social media. For this to kick things off, our opening statement of the week, what struck you about the Rams last week? Since the last time we talked. I'll go with Tommy first.
What struck me is they always have problems with their former players for various reasons. They always have a disagreement either about money or whatever the reasons. You can go all the way back to one of the quarterbacks they had back in the 70s. I forgot his name, but they was playing with him then. Eric Dickerson, they ran him out of town. He went to Indy. But when I was here, it was Orlando. Everybody had a fight or fuss to get what they felt like, they was old. Orlando Pacey, I think he held out of camp his first year as the first pick. And then when I got here, maybe 4th or 5th year in, he was trying to get a new deal. He held out every year. He never came to training camp. I remember Torrey Hope going through the same issues about getting paid and things like that. So it's like the Rams always they always shoot themselves in the foot with their players. They got great players, but from one reason or another, it doesn't work out. Either they don't pay them right or something else doesn't go right. So I always like to blame it on the Rams, whatever things don't go right with the players. So and another thing I like about with these new players, they can put you on blast. I know when I played, the teams had all the leverage. They'll create the narrative of you're a bad person or you want this money or whatever the case. So it was refreshing to see Todd Gurley kind of shoot at the Rams back like, man, y'all owe me my money and where it's at. So I like it now where it's a two-way street. Teams can talk crazy about you too, but now the players got a little audience as well to create their own narrative.
Arlen, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's interesting, like you said. It seems like it's not just one player. It happens in groups. You can go through, like you said, Gurley, Fowler, Littleton, Matthews, Greg, DeLay, Coleman, Matthews. You can go on, and it's like when the Rams make a move, they make a move. It's not just talking about like what TP said, the guy that come through with him, talking about Orlando, Torrey Holt, and they just start, Marshall, and they just start, once they do with one, it's like that domino effect. They just start playing with guys, whether it's, money or cutting guys or playing games and all that stuff. And it's like during this offseason, they've done so much movement in the past couple of months. And it's like, where's the building process? It's almost like they're digressing here a little bit, and they're not just letting one or two guys go. When you look at the production of the guys that they're letting go in the face of their team, if I'm a fan, I don't know who's going to carry that flag. You know what I mean? It's you got your golf and you got, the bigs, but some of those skilled players, man, those guys that make it, fun to come out and watch, now they got to fill those gaps. So, the Rams on it right now. They're not playing on anybody's favorites. I don't believe.
It's interesting you guys are saying that. I've been waiting for this perspective. Mike and I talked about it on our show over the weekend, and I look at it more along the lines of come on, I'm a fan. I'm also a guy who's covered this team as a journalist for years, and I guess I have questions for you about that because, Tommy, you're saying this is a kind of a breath of fresh air. From my perspective, I'm wanting to know, isn't this something your agent should be dealing with the team on? I mean, if you're missing money, maybe there's something going on with the whole bit. Maybe the Rams don't have his contract yet because if it's dependent on how long or what the contract signed for to know how much they owe him, they kind of need that. I wonder about those things. Does it have to be automatically the Rams' fault, or is it possible, especially with the shutdown being what it is, there's more going down than meets the eye?
Playing devil's advocate, you can say that, but when it's two guys saying it, I don't know. Clay Matthews, he doesn't have a job right now, so what's his excuse on that end of him not getting his check? So it's just the Rams and their money, man. They don't like to come off it all the time, but I think they'll work it out, and he'll eventually get paid. But times are down right now. They got the building they got to build and other things that got to be paid. So, hey, you got to wait.
Arlen?
Yeah. I mean, they got a lot going on, right now and dealing with the cap. And I know they're shuffling and moving certain things around. So with those guys not being in the building anymore, shoot, they got to wait their turn. They're a priority without being a priority because I'm pretty sure they're going to get their money. But like you said, no one knows all their little hidden details and what's being held up. And I know they use the term dead money and all that other stuff. So again, we don't know, but when you take to social media and you do have that kind of power and that platform to utilize, you ain't going to put that out there, just to be saying it. So I'm pretty sure the Rams owe him a couple of hours.
Oh, I'm sure they do. My question, though, remains, why would they be holding on to his money? There has to be something going on contract-wise. There has to be something they're missing. The same for Matthews. If Matthews doesn't sign with somebody, what if he is only due a set amount from the Rams if he signs with, say, the Bears for a year, $2 million? Maybe the Rams pay $1 million of the money that's owed them instead of $2 million. We don't know all those contract details, but Tommy, you mentioned something, the track record. Eric Dickerson, the financial issues there, and going back and forth. You mentioned the Rams quarterback, Vince Ferragamo, in the late 70s, early 80s. Orlando Pace, Torrey Holt. You mentioned all those guys, but this is a team that has a different GM now than all those eras, all those past, a different owner primary owner from the 70s to the 90s to now. So is it a culture thing or is it just a business thing? You have to get your cap to a certain point. Is it both?
But I think it's both. They kind of messed their cap up the last few years, so they're over the cap right now. So the cap, they didn't manage the cap as well. They overpaid for Brandon Cook probably, and maybe and the quarterback. So make him take a little pay cut or whatever the case. Probably give it to him in a signing bonus. But the Rams organization always been from the top not consistent, and that's why they're probably not a consistent winner. They have a great brand as a Rams organization, like the LA Rams, the Horns, and all that. One of the tops in the league. It should be up there with the Dallas Cowboys, but for some reason or another, the ownership always seems like shoot the team in the foot. In any business, to be successful, things got to be consistent at the top. And for some reason or another, throughout the history of the Rams organization, from the ownership on down, there's been some kind of inconsistencies throughout.
I was at Atlanta with Snead, so he's aggressive. He's a young guy. Him and McVay probably playing off of each other, but there was issues over in Atlanta too. He's highly motivated, but at this point in time, where you move cities, it's still fresh. You get a new stadium, and a couple of those pieces and those named guys. I don't understand why you let those fan favorites go. You're changing your logo. You know what I mean? It's almost like you keep shooting yourself in the foot. You need some traction. No one's saying you need to stay in bed with those guys that long, but at this point, going into this new stadium, who are you filling it with? Yeah, you got some draft picks. Like they don't have another first rounder. They haven't had a first rounder since what? 2016, I think, since golf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what is, I look at it like that perspective. Yeah, those guys, you got a solid team, you got a good foundation, but it's at the end of the day, it's a business as well. You know what I mean? And when you start taking known names, like you said, me and TP keep referencing these guys, Marshall, Torrey, Orlando, these people coming, yeah, they're Rams fans, but there's also people that's coming to watch a player. You know what I mean? And to me, who are you running into that new stadium to come watch?
Well, a couple questions. You're saying something here. Well, Snead, Atlanta, well, what happened there? Come on, fill us in.
Man, I tell you what, again, I was there for it. That was almost like a soap opera because I got there when the whole Vic was transitioning out. So in training camp, I mean, there would be crop planes flying over our practice field, throwing out stuffed animals onto the field, people boycotting at the gate. Then you bring in Petrino, and, he came out with his staff with the college influence and his brother. Then you got Horn, D'Angelo Hall. I mean, it was, again, me coming from the Rams that was, more older or just established guys. Then I went to Detroit with the younger guys that got all this money. And then you go to this soap opera where this whole Mike Vick case. And the thing I like about Arthur, they're the owner over there. He's involved. He's in and out of that locker room. So I think the operations part to what Snead is used to in Atlanta is probably a night and day to what he's dealing with in LA. Now, again, I can't, the powers that be and how he can move. But as far as like what you're talking about, what happened in the past, he wasn't a part of that. He's still aggressive and he's still going to want to get those guys. So them letting everybody go, again, there's where there's smoke, there's fire. They're doing that for a reason. So they have a plan.
Let me ask you guys this, because I've been covering this over on our side for a while now, and I have a different view on it than you guys do. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm blowing this thing out, okay? I've taken it as this. The Rams saw they had the pieces in place to make their runs in 2017, 2018, maybe 2019. So they started making moves to try and fill out the roster to get the talent there to go make the run. They paid their guys. Serious guaranteed money to try and make that last grab, get that Super Bowl ring. Things didn't work out. People got hurt. Gurley, his knee decides to malfunction at that point in time. And all of a sudden, you're stuck holding the bag with a big contract for both him and now concussion-prone Cooks. So what do? You have 2021 coming up with this new deal, this new CBA, which should see a massive increase in salary cap money. But you're looking at this year's roster going, we're stuck. Well, what do? Well, we take our medicine. We get these guys out of here to clear the books for next year to go out there and be able to spend what we want to spend and get the talent we want to be ready. In the meantime, we stockpile our draft picks we can. We develop the players like we've been developing them, and all of a sudden in 2021, we're back as a contender. That's how I've seen it. That's how they take their medicine for 2020 to be ready in 2021 to actually be a Super Bowl contender. Because they still have enough talent to at least compete for a wild card now. But definitely not Super Bowl. What do you think, Tommy? Is that thinking wrong?
No, I think the biggest mistake, I don't think was not paying, it was paying Gurley. I don't think that was the biggest mistake. I think it was paying the quarterback all the money you paid him. I mean, you paid him like he was a top 5, top 10 guy. You could have waited or you could have gave him a little less. I think that's what jammed the money up, but, that's they got. So, that's the guy they're going to hang their hat with, and that's the guy they're going to go with. So, but they made a run, but looking at their roster, they still have a chance to. They finished 9-7 last year. They're in a tough division. It's going to be tougher this year. But if they get the picks, the offensive guys in the second round, like a running back and the offensive lineman, I think they'll be right there. They got enough on defense, but they need a couple more. I think they like their receivers. They like Reynolds and they like the other two guys. Then they'll be solid, but they need another running back. If they can get their hands on the guy at Utah, I love him. I forgot his name, but he's out of Florida. Zach Moss. If they can get their hands on Zach Moss, I think he'll fit right in with Gurley did. He's a 3-down back, run through tackles, and he got breakaway speed. So, he got solid speed. I ain't gonna say breakaway speed. That in a nutshell, like you said, they have enough talent. I think they could be in a wild card next year.
Let me back this over to Arlen real quick. Your thoughts on Moss before I transition to receivers, because that's where we were going next anyways. What are your thoughts on Moss?
I think that's a solid pick, being able to get him being available at that time, him being a second rounder. I don't think they can get him later. I don't think he's going to be a second round pick. But picking up a decent back like that to maybe work with a kid from Memphis. Like you said, we talked about being that two back system last time. I think they'll be able to work together good in that offense. But receiver, honestly, I think with them getting rid of Cooks is going to hurt them. You know what I mean? They did so well. They were second in scoring and in offense this year. So they know that we put the ball in the air, and you paid Goff. So maybe now I'm starting to, maybe backtrack here a little bit. Maybe they don't need a stud in the backfield, like a name guy, but you still got to be effective and maybe kind of piggyback of what the 49ers did. They got two legitimate backs over there, and look what they was able to do last year. So getting a solid back, but I think you're going to need somebody to help out Goff, because Cooks, it's funny with that trade. I know we're going to talk about it, but he was still having production. He didn't fall off as much as like a Gurley, and the poor guy got traded 3 times already within 6 years. But he was a 1,000-yard guy. I mean, he was consistent.
The best ability is availability. I think they like Reynolds. Reynolds is one of the guys that they like from last year. I think he's going to take over with Cooks deal. Then also they're going to come out there in 11 personnel with the 2 tight ends, with Higsby and Everett, do some little play action stuff. So, I think they got enough in those areas right there. I mean, they might need one more receiver, like a younger guy. From Baylor, I was looking at the 6'4" receiver, maybe Mims or something like that. They need a 6'4", 6'5" guy, like a tall guy that could go up and get the jump ball in the red zone, stuff like that. But
you mean 12 personnel, right, for the 2 tight ends?
Oh, yeah, 12 personnel. I'm sorry. Yeah, 12 personnel.
So let me ask you guys about that real quick here, because when talking to you last week, Tommy, you pointed this out, was that there's no clear game break receiver there. And this is a receiver deep draft. We're talking, you could possibly develop a top line receiver from a 4th round guy this year. That's how deep this wide receiver class is. Wouldn't this be the year that the Rams are going to take some medicine and just own up on the salary cap? This would be the year to try and get another pick in that top part of the draft. Wouldn't this be the year?
If they try to get a what? If they try to get a top pick in this year? Well,
a top section, like in the first 2 days. Like there is the belief right now that this wide receiver class is so deep that if you're lucky, you can get a 4th rounder who can develop into that top line starter for you. That's how deep it is. They went and they made this trade, the Cooks trade. They got a 2nd rounder back, the 57th pick in the draft, for a team that has needs. Mm-hmm. And that's there's going to be a receiver there available at that point. There'll be a running back.
Yeah, but I think that's what they go. They go running back or O-line. I think they go running back or O-line right there. Like I said, I think they like Reynolds a lot. He showed a lot of promise last year. I think if they do, they'll get one maybe a receiver in the third round, the 3rd or 4th round. But I don't think 2nd round they go receiver that early.
What do you think, Arlen?
I think really they're going to probably have to play the board, because they're, like you said, they're heavy in receiver. I think they can pick up some guys late in that 2nd round. There's a lot of those utility speedster guys in here. There's a lot of guys under 6 foot, very good after the catch, shifting in space, third receiver slot type kids. But there's a few that stick out here like that. The receiver from Michigan, who I think is a sleeper, the People's Jones. He's a big guy. He's 6'1". He's playing for an NFL coach, heavy coach family, Harbaugh. He's a true number one receiver. He don't have that speed, but I think it'll give it that threat to the outside. And then I know there's another guy that I don't know if he's going to be around that long, but from Arizona State, again, playing for Herm, he's over 6 foot. He's a big kid, and he also does some return stuff. So he'll be another good special teamer. So it depends on, I think, who's available at that time. I agree with Tommy. They need somebody. They need length. They need to be able to stretch the field here a little bit. Maybe I would hate to say a possession receiver because they run so fast. But it was funny too. Another guy, Michael Pittman Jr. I don't know if you guys remember running back for him. Right. His son's a dog, and
he went to USC.
Yeah, and that's a Cali kid. Good story, right. Like a golf. His dad went to Fresno State. He right there in the backyard. I think. Like he'll be there that fourth, fifth, be hanging around there late. He understands what that's going to take. But again, second round, I think they need O-line. Now with looking at studying the linebacker situation a little bit / edge rusher, I don't know if they go with the edge rusher, O-lineman. That running back receiver, I think it's really going to depend on what that board looks like and who's going to be choosing in front of them. And then they're going to just have to keep an eye on it. And pull the trigger with whoever's best and available.
So you think it's going to be basically the best available if it's a receiver?
Not like, I mean, whoever fits their scheme too. Not just best, but who fits their scheme. A receiver, they're going to need that bigger, lengthy guy. And then somebody, like you said, like that kid from Utah, if he's available as a running back, take him in the second hand. But if he's still there in that third, because they only have, 7 picks, and they don't have a first round, so they got to be strategic.
Here's my question for you guys: the way the Rams are right now, their specific weaknesses, they need a running back at some point in their early. They have needs at linebacker or edge rusher. They have needs on the offensive line, depending on who you talk to. Depending on who you talk to,
left guard.
And potentially left tackle. So. At this point, where do you really, if you can get somewhere first, if in a dream scenario, where are you going first? If you're going to fill one hole, if you can, which one do you fill with that first, second round pick you have?
Protect your money.
So O-line.
Yeah, you gotta get an O-line.
You gotta protect your money.
Yeah. So I think they had an interview with the Washington Center the other day, virtual interview with. So they're looking at him, but he's a versatile guy that maybe can kick over the guard. Their left guard he graded out, what's his name? No Boom. He graded out 39% last year on Pro Football Focus. And looking like they're trying to get him, replace that position right there.
Well, I mean, No Boom was at left guard and was totally clueless those first couple games and actually was turning it around, was actually getting a feel for it, and then he got hurt. And then Brian Allen was lost from the get-go, which, I don't understand the Rams thinking at all last year at all with that offensive line was just, we have these 2 new starters. Let's don't give them, they don't play any starter time in the preseason, just throw them out week 1. I don't know. But the reason why I'm asking about that first pick, guys, is because you mentioned the Rams really had a hard time going deep last year. Part of it was Tommy, you pointed out that they weren't getting away from anybody. But 2, Goff didn't have a whole lot of time to be able to look deep because he had somebody coming at him. And if you talk to some folks, they'll throw stats, well, the Rams didn't lead the league in fewest pressures. Well, anybody who watches film knows that sometimes it's not the obvious pressure that a quarterback feels. It's the way you fold sometimes. The way that defensive line comes around you and takes things away from you. So, is that the main key? Protect your money, right? Is they're saying protect your money. How soon do you try and go get that linebacker, though, or go get that receiver? How long do you think you wait? What's your priority list right now?
My priority list, I got O-line, running back, and wide receiver. And then they go defense. Looking at the history of the defense, I mean, they the guy they got starting now, they got him in the. You talking about Micah Kaiser? They got him in the fifth round. They got Kenny Young. He was a fourth round pick from the Ravens last year, and they got him in the trade with Marcus Peterson. So to me, I mean, Troy Reader was undrafted. Travion Howard was a seventh round pick. Patrick was a seventh round pick, and Caraway was a seventh round pick. So to me, don't look like they're trying to get any linebackers early. So I would say they're going to go with Micah Kaiser. They're going to start with Micah Kaiser. Kenny Young got a lot of promise. Micah Kaiser going to get the nod. He had played special teams the first 2 years, did well. Last year he hurt his pec before the season. So I think they're going to go with Mike linebacker. There was a guy at Texas Tech, Jordan Brooks. They interviewed him already at the Combine. They like him a lot. He's a downhill thumper guy, which would be good in that conference, in that division, because it's a downhill division. Everybody have two backs and a tight end, so you got to have guys that are big bodies in that box that can take on those big running backs for both San Fran and Seattle. So I think they're gonna go with a bigger inside linebacker. Like I said, Jordan Brooks, you got. They're looking at. Like I said, he did a virtual interview. Then, a couple guys, maybe. Malik Harrison out of Ohio State. He's a big thumper. I know you'll like him. Mm-hmm. Big guy. Fit good in that division. He's in the same mold as Young and Kaiser, 6'4", 6'2", 250. Then you got Sean Bradley out of Temple. He's in that same mold, 6'1", 235, running 4.5. So I think they need a Mike and a Mike linebacker, two guys. But with the guys they got coming back, I think they like them. But you just take one of these guys, 5th, 6th round, and use them on special teams, and maybe they push one of the starters, one of those other guys that's already there. Oh no, I just think they go Mike linebacker or inside linebacker, because like I said, that division right there is a big division. So these linebackers that I got, Malik Harrison and Sean Bradley and Quarterman, guys like that, they're 6'2", 240-ish type of linebacker, inside linebackers that fit the same criteria as Kaiser and Young.
I have a couple of questions for you, but I want to get Arlen over. Arlen, if you have a priority list, if you're draft shopping and you're walking down the grocery aisle looking for picking your guys, where are you going first, second, third, and fourth in terms of position order? What's your priority list?
This might shock y'all a little bit, but again, I'm gonna concentrate on the money. So definitely go O-line first, somebody interior. Then I'm gonna go with a receiver. To your point, that's gonna have great ball skills, stretch the field, make that big play, bigger receiver compared to what they got. And then I'm gonna go with linebacker, just because you just lost your leading tackler, and as I looked at their stats, I mean he had 2 interceptions, 2 pass deflections, and your leading cornerback or DB only had 2 interceptions. So you got to be able to create more turnovers and be able to play a little bit better off of the D-line that they got. So I'm a listen to TP. You know what he's talking about, whether he's an inside or somebody that can play a little bit outside rusher, be able to cover on the tight end or do those type of things. But I think they're going to need not necessarily a guy in the second round, but they're going to need a linebacker, and then I would say running back after that, because as hard as it hurts me to say, you can't get a decent running back later on in those rounds. But that would be my deal, and then maybe jumping over to D-line or cornerback. I
gotta be honest, Arlen, you cut me off guard a little bit there when you put running back 4th in your priority list.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I know.
I think,
but again,
that says a lot about you and how you see Henderson, though, doesn't it? I mean, you obviously see Henderson as a player, or you're probably putting a running back a little bit further up the ladder.
I think he's a player. I think the kid needs a little opportunity, and then also looking at the conference and what he can do and what the Rams have been good at. That's kind of what I'm looking at as well. They've been able to stretch the field, even though Gurley, had a so-called so-so year. They had a lot of production in the air. And what is Goff going to be comfortable with, even though you're going to take a little pressure off of him and help out the O-line? Okay, let's get him a big. You can get a decent back later on, but at the same time, let's continue to get better with what we've been doing. Let's go get a number one receiver. That's just my interpretation a little bit.
So there is something I want to get back with you at about towards the end of the show. We've been putting off the linebackers for a while. So I want to come back to it because you mentioned what the Rams are good at. There's something they got away from last year that they were good at in 2017, 2018, and just kind of threw away in 2019. And come back to it. Tommy, you mentioned these linebackers. Now, the Rams, over the course of the last 3-4 years, have done an excellent job developing guys who weren't stars. Corey Littleton was undrafted. They came in there, developed him, and he becomes one of the best linebackers in the league and goes make some serious cash from the Raiders. Is that perhaps a reason why the Rams are comfortable not taking a linebacker early? Because they know they've been able to develop him in the past.
Yeah, that's what the history says. The history says, we're going to get a linebacker in the 4th round or below and develop him, and he's going to do good things. But even Littleton, I love Littleton's game. He was great in the area of pass defense, and he was very active. Made a lot of plays sideline to sideline, but they didn't want to pay him, or they said they felt as though he didn't stop the run. He wasn't good against the run or something like that. Maybe he was a little light against the run and things like that. But, he was a great player. I thought they should have kept him.
They weren't limited, though. You had to keep Fowler Jr. or to keep Littleton, they had to do some serious maneuvering. And then you mentioned earlier, Goff said today he's open to restructure his contract. Well, why now? Why are you saying it now? That should have been something you're talking about a while back now, if that's the case, because if you want to try to keep those guys. But Okoronkwo is there. Kaiser coming off that injury. They were high on him before the injury happened. You're bringing back a Reader. You've got your defensive line in front of you, which has been with Brockers back now, and Sean Robinson from Detroit, who had good performances there in Detroit. Didn't quite fit at the end, but he had some good performances. And of course, Aaron Donald in front of you. What can they really do at linebacker to shore that up? Maybe add some pass rush and so on and so forth.
I think they're going to have a solid pass rush. They had the kid Akavon. He's a good pass rusher. Brockers, he came back. Leonard Floyd, he had about 6-7 sacks last year. I think he'll be a little bit productive. They had some guys. Then they got the guy Polite who was at Florida. He got drafted, I think, in the 2nd, 3rd round last year. He had some little issues, off the field issues with the Jets, and I think Seattle let him go. But he's a nice pass rusher up there. If he can stay on track, he'll be good. Samson Akabon is good. Number 45 showed some flashes last year. So I think they have some guys at the edge that'll be able to get sacks by committee. I don't think it's a guy that I'm looking at that's going to get me 10 sacks. But I see a couple guys who are going to give me 4 and 5, and one more guy maybe give me 5 and 6. So I think they're going to do it by committee. And then, of course, you got Aaron Donald in the middle. He's going to do his thing. But so I think the defense is on the interior is looking pretty solid. Ashawn Robinson, he'll help him out against the run. Like I said, you got to have those big bodies in that division, and you're going against Seattle and San Fran, who like to run the ball and be physical. Just
one more question for you before I go back to Arlen here. Talking about that defense, linebackers, there were Aaron Donald had a good year last year, but there were some games where he was basically taken out. The Baltimore game being an example of it. My feeling was it wasn't Aaron making mistakes, having a bad game. It was the fact they were able to triple team him, and the other Rams players that were there at the time didn't make opposing teams pay for that. Do they have players now that can make teams pay for double and triple teaming Aaron Donald?
Oh, yeah. I think so. With Brockers coming back, Ashawn Robinson, I think it'll be. I think with the Ravens, it's a little different. Yeah, they triple team. You can say that, but it was more of what the Ravens were doing. You got to play a disciplined type of style of football where everybody has an assignment. I don't think the just watching the game, and I remember telling my wife, I'm like, I could tell by the first play if this is going to be a good game or not, or if the Ravens going to have success. And they didn't play assignment football from the first play, and I knew it was going to be a long day for him. So, yeah, you can say he got double and triple team, which he did most of the year. But he still wanted to find a way to get out that double team. But against the Ravens, it's a little different because they play option football, and that's one of them teams that's going to be different. But with the rest of this, like when they go up against San Fran and Seattle, and it's going to be generic. It's going to be regular base base offense where they line up with 21 personnel or 12 personnel trying to run the ball right at you. And I think he'll be okay with if you got Brockers and Ashawn Robinson next to you. I mean, you just can't double him by himself and think it's going to be and think those guys not going to make any plays. So I think he'll have a better season this year with those guys around him. And then also with better inside linebackers behind you. I don't think Reeder was a guy that you can depend on. But I think with the guys they got now, with Young and with Kaiser, Kaiser was a tackling machine in college. So I think with those two guys right there, I think they can make more plays in the running game than maybe Littleton or Reeder did last year.
Gotcha. Okay, so moving over to Arlen. Arlen, one thing I noticed, and I'm talking draft now, getting back to the draft, that one thing I noticed last year, the Rams, is this was a team that was very good getting the ball out to running backs in space, getting them out in the screenplay, getting them just away from behind the line in the field, making teams have to plan for that extra receiver coming out. Todd Gurley was great in 2017, 2018 for that. Last year, that changed dramatically. Arlen, they went and became a team that barely ever utilized a screen, barely ever utilized a running back out of the backfield. Do you believe that the Rams will be able to get back to utilizing the running back in a more productive way, a more multidimensional way? Or do you think there are other reasons for them pulling away from running backs in the passing game?
Yeah, I think that was just a reflection of the confidence and maybe the where Gurley was, physically. But no, I think they definitely got to get back to what they're doing because they do it well. I mean, Coach McVay does it well with that jet sweep, and you don't know if it's a screen, you don't know if they're giving it, taking it. They do a lot of good things out of that. I think having that three receivers like we're talking about, if you can have almost that Tavon Austin type and Reynolds and all those guys get mixed into that running game to keep guys honest. Because even when they started doing it, you could tell when they were getting away from it, they stopped doing that outside zone stretch to Gurley. They started doing more of the fake inside zone to get to that play, which was keeping the linebackers in the box a little bit more. So they was able to maybe flow instead of a 3-4 yard game. Now those guys was able to, redirect where when you're stretching and getting Gurley on the edge, those guys had to turn their hips and run. And by that time when they were going around and handing that ball up to the jet sweep, that's when they were able to, keep drives alive and move the stick. So I think they definitely got to get back to that. And again, I think the kid from Memphis can do that. He's like 5, those guys that can hide and, a lot of those misdirection plays. I think that's what they were able to do. So
I've always viewed the running back there from last year. The situation is more of an offensive line thing. People have criticized Sean McVay for, quote unquote, not adjusting to what defenses did to him, like what Bill Belichick did and what Patricia up in Detroit did and what the Bears did against him in 2018, going into this year. When I went through film, what I saw was that he was making adjustments, but his offensive line wasn't executing the way he needed them to do. In the end, in my view, he didn't have confidence that the offensive line could do what he needed. Do you agree or disagree with that view, or was there something else going on?
I totally agree, because in that type of offense, it's all about timing. So instead of those defenses sitting back and allowing them to go through their mesh points and they started bringing pressure, like you said. So even though those might not accumulate into actual stats, they were able to mess up the timing and maybe keep Goff's eyes maybe mid-range and closer down, and instead of being able to look downfield and hitting some of those things. So that's production. You know what I mean? That might not show up on the stat sheet, but those defenses, they're going to be able to adjust as well. So as a coordinator, and you start calling plays, if you don't have confidence and you need to be able to, take those shots, you're going to be a little bit more, considerate and not take those gambles.
Tommy, put yourself in the mindset of that defensive player now, because you've been there before, and you're playing a team with a young offensive line that's struggling to execute what the coach wants. What are you trying to do at that point to break that offense?
Well, I'm trying to show them different looks. I want to show them different pre-snap looks. Show them one thing and then roll into another thing, and give them a little pressure every now and then. But I think with golf is how they cracked this code was Bill Belichick changing his calls in the Super Bowl. The coach he was doing it all year, giving golf the call all the way up in his headsets all the way up to 15 seconds. Then he'd tell him go too high or whatever the case, or one high. So what Belichick did in the Super Bowl, he knew that was happening, and then he started changing his coverage once he knew that he was out his ear. So I think that's what people started getting the bead on McVay. I think once he goes back to getting the running game, and the running game dictates what you're going to see, there'll be a much better or more consistent offense, and Goff will be a much better player.
Okay, so it's getting almost time for us to go. I'll play a little bit of fact and fiction with you guys. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a statement. I'm telling you to say fact or fiction, and explain why you say it's a fact or fiction, okay? Y'all ready?
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
Fact or fiction? Sean McVay is overrated as the Rams head coach. Tommy?
False. Because they went to a Super Bowl one year. They didn't go to the playoffs last year, but they had a 9-7 year in a tough division. So he's been pretty consistent. So I'm gonna say he's been pretty solid, pretty consistent. I ain't gonna say overrated.
All right. Arlen? Fact or fiction?
Oh, we're trying. Okay. Same question, or you giving me a different?
Same question.
Oh, no. I would say false. Same thing for what he was able to do, being the youngest, head coach at the time, tenure. He, came in there, guns a-blazing, had a lot of success, not just on the offensive side of the ball, but as a team, taking them to the playoffs and to the Super Bowl. So you can't argue that.
All right. Fact or fiction? I'll stay with you, Arlen, for this one. The Rams are, right now, on paper, the worst team in the division. Fact or fiction?
Ooh, on paper in the division. I'm gonna go ahead and say true, just off the fact of you got one of the best receivers that just went over to Arizona. You got, I know it seems like the other teams are receiving more. I think we're gonna have to make our moves in the draft, where these guys are making moves in the free agency. I'm not going to, claim to know all the little tidbits, but I think on paper, with us already being ranked third, I think Arizona off of picking up hot from the Texans. That's a biggie, man. And again, we just went through this for the past, I don't know how long we've been on here. There's no guys that we've really accumulated to move us up in the conversation on paper, without talking on paper. So I think we might be the worst in the division on paper.
All right. Tommy, fact or fiction? What do you say?
That's fiction.
Fiction.
That's fiction. Man, Arizona cannot beat the Rams. No. And the reason why I say that, they got another receiver. They got another one that's 50. He'll be solid. But I think the Rams got a cornerback, I think, by the name of Patrick Ramsey, Florida State.
Jalen Ramsey. Don't go Patrick Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey from Florida State. So I think he'll be able to follow, the receiver around a little bit. And I ain't going to say shut him down.
Ramsey can handle Hop?
He could compete with him. I ain't say stop him, but they had good competition over there when he was in Houston. He was in Jacksonville. It was, but Hop is tough. But you got your offensive line is not that good in Arizona, and the quarterback is, he's not the tallest guy, so we just going to stand and put our hands up. But I'm not going to put Arizona over them yet. Nah. So that's false.
All right. Last one. You're saying false, and you said fiction and fact, so playing off that. The Rams will surprise the league next year by making the playoffs with at least 10 wins. Fact or fiction? Yep. I'll stick with you. Can make you defend yourself a little more on that last question.
I think there'll be like 9. I think there'll be 9-7. I think there'll be 9-7. I don't think San Fran is going to jump out like they did last year. I think it's going to be kind of a tighter division this year. And I don't know who's going to win it because all three of them. I think the Rams are going to be a tough out. I really do. They got enough on defense. They got a tough cornerback. They got a tough 3 technique. And if they get, I think they need a stud running back. If they get a stud running back in the O-line, I think they'll be, in the draft, I think they'll be okay to compete for the division. I really do. I think they got the personnel to at least compete for the division.
Okay. All right, Arlen, fact or fiction?
All right, so I'm going to sound like a hypocrite, but on paper, I'm going to say I think they'll go to the playoffs, but here's my thing. I'm going to play politics. Most likely, teams aren't going to be able to get together till training camp anyway. So, number one, that's going to even the playground for a lot of people. We're going to see who's really going to be able to coach. Then a lot of those movements, and if that locker room's not consistent or their identity, continues to fray. Because, like you said, you got young leadership in Arizona. Even though you add Hop and, he's kind of you hear different things about him, so they might stay where they are. Seattle's kind of proven. The 49ers made some different moves. So I think the Rams are going to surprise some people with, depending on who they pick up in the draft. But if I'm a gambling man, I think we're going to, you know how it goes. I think we're going to go out there and pull off. The 10 wins scare me, but
right.
saying 10 wins scare me. That's
9-7. You go to playoff. 9-7. That sounds like
I'm confused though. I'm confused because you just said they're the worst team in the division. One question before
you
that.
said on paper.
On paper.
Right now. On paper. On paper.
So what you're saying is you believe the Rams are going to have a good draft. They're going to fill those holes in the draft.
Yeah. Yes. I'm good with that.
Okay. I lied. I have one more question for you guys if you're game for it. I think it's a pretty good one. That's why it came to mind as you guys were answering this question. You game for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So here we go. Sean McVay's 2017 Rams had the whole motto of "We, not me." 3 years later, almost, several stars are no longer a part of this team. Does that make "We, not me" basically a bunch of garbage? Fact or fiction?
No, that's fact. I always laugh at, especially in the professional league. College, you do have a bond that probably can't be broken in college. But in the pros, they'll break it down with family and all this. But we know it's not real. In your heart, it's not truly what people mean. So they tell you, so I kind of use analysis like this. They say they love you in December and January. We love you. When March comes, the love ain't there no more. Funny how the love go right out the window as soon as the new calendar year starts. So the "We, not me," that was a good team. Monica, I'm sure they made a lot of T-shirts and they did some great things that year, but it's not a true or accurate statement. Yeah.
Arlen?
I think they can still ride with that because at the end of the day, the moves they're making if you look at it, it has to be a we thing because it's hurting the team. The cap, they got to free up those things. And unfortunately, those guys are getting paid those big bucks. And now you say Goff is coming back. And again, that's a we, right, mentality, saying he'll take the pay cut. Could have happened a little bit earlier, but at the end of the day, it's just something to get those guys to come out there and try to.
And he didn't actually take a pay cut on his own will. It was something in his contract that was already, the Rams could go in there and automatically do if they felt like it. So it wasn't something that he wanted to do. It was something that it was in the contract, and the Rams felt like they wanted to do it, and that's what they did.
I don't think it's done yet.
He didn't bring it to the table.
Oh, it's not done yet?
I don't think it. I mean, he just said today he's open to it. I don't think it's done yet. So I think it has to happen, quite frankly, because they can't pay their roster without somebody making a sacrifice. So
I don't think Goff has. I was reading where it was in the contract. He has no choice but to take the pick up.
I think you're right. I mean, he'll want to talk with them, talk about it, but I mean, I think you're right. It's in his contract. It's time for us to go. Before we do, we want to wish you guys safety out there. Stay healthy, stay safe, be back, listen to us next week. And in the meantime, let's get these guys' social media out there. Tommy, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at tpolley29. You can find me on Instagram at Coach T Polley. And Facebook at Coach T Polley, same thing.
Arlen, where can they find you?
Hey, you catch me, Coach Harris _33, and then also at Train Run It on Twitter or Instagram. And come give me a follow.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Derek Ciapala. Don't forget also that I host Rams Talk Radio twice a week. We have some good stuff over there. But do not forget to follow us on Twitter as a team here. Rams Brawl at Twitter. Rams Brawl. Facebook, same thing. Just search for Rams Brawl. We're also on Instagram as well. You can look for our podcast anywhere you can listen to podcasts. We're making it happen. Episode 2 is in the books. And I think, guys, we've said his name enough today. I think we got to talk some Jared Goff next week. Let's leave it there.
No, we definitely talk about Goff, but I just want to make sure we didn't leave without y'all. We talk about the running back. I think Christian McCaffrey did just sign a pretty good deal as a running back to establish some type of value across the league, but I don't want to touch that. I just wanted to throw that out there. Because,
I think he wants to talk about that next week. I think he wants to talk about that next week. All right.
Now,
so
all I'm saying is, how does Gurley feel?
I think we got to talk about that, especially you being the running back guy. I'm sure Tommy's got some thoughts too. Well, so there you go. There's our agenda next week. You know right now, running back contracts, Jared Goff. So for both Tommy and for Arlen, have a great one. We'll see you next week.
See you. Peace.